Hi there. Have you ever seen something in the night sky that left you puzzled? I'm going to share with you an experience that I had on my holiday in France last week. It was a bizarre spectacle. Listen on and you will discover the bizarre truth behind the strange necklace of lights seen in the night sky. It's not what you might think. And the explanation is both rational and fascinating. So this is a personal story, but an experience which you may also have had. But most important of all, this podcast is here to help you practice your English language understanding with real-life situations. So don't forget to listen to it a number of times until you understand all the words. And if you stick around to the end of this podcast, I'll share an opinion with you on something that's been in the news recently. You may agree with me or you may not, but it'll make it interesting. And let's find out if you listen until the end. Here goes. Hello, I'm Hilary and you're listening to Adept English. We will help you to speak English fluently. All you have to do is listen. So start listening now and find out how it works. So, if you've listened to the Adept English podcast for some time, you may know that part of my family live in the south of France, my sister and her family to be precise. And I like to visit them, especially in the summer. It's warm, it's sunny, there are swimming pools in people's gardens, great French food and beautiful scenery. And I like to practice my French too. So last week, my son and I went to stay for a week at my sister's house. Other family members also live in the village and other family members were also visiting. And there was an important birthday to celebrate. So it was a week of doing nice things. However, there was a strange happening. One evening after we'd been to a restaurant for dinner, we'd just arrived back at my sister's house and we were getting out of the car. It was dark and around 11:30 at night. My sister is an avid stargazer. That's Gazer, meaning someone who likes to gaze or look at the stars in the night sky. She likes to look for the different constellations, Orion, the Plough, etc. I'm sure they have different names in your language. Maybe that's another podcast. Where my sister lives in the south of France, there is very little light pollution because there are no major cities or towns close by. It's in the middle of nowhere, if you like. There's no light pollution. That's pollution. Usually when we talk about pollution, we mean chemicals in the wrong place, often in water, in lakes and rivers, or in the air. But when we talk about light pollution, we mean where the widespread use of street lights in cities and towns lightens the night sky and prevents the stars being properly visible. And it's pollution because the effect on animals and plant life is damaging. Sunlight and nighttime control the natural cycle, so daylight's really important. Birds and animals die because the natural light cycle is so disrupted. So light pollution is an apt description. But as I say, there's very little light pollution where my sister lives. So as we got out of the car at 11:30 p.m, there was a bizarre spectacle, something really odd in the night sky. I'll tell you about that in a minute. First of all, some Adept English news. If you like what we do here at Adept English and you would like more Listen and Learn podcasts, and you'd like to support us, this is great news. Starting this month, first with Spotify and then with Apple Podcasts, we are going to be releasing 2 new subscriber-only episodes every week. More great Listen and Learn material from me, ad-free and distraction-free, but still fascinating. We will keep the listening length the same for now, but it's possible these episodes will get longer if that's what you want. And we will still keep the Listen and Learn videos free, you don't have to pay, and publish these once a week. So that's some great news if you like Adept English and you want to support us. More of that in future podcasts. So back to the bizarre spectacle. There's something really odd in the night sky. What we saw was moving across the sky were a number of lights in a long string, almost like a necklace or a chain. There were about 20 or 30 moving lights. moving in sync at the same speed and keeping the distance between them the same. We're used to stargazing, and we're also used to spotting planes because my nephew is an airline pilot, and we're also used to spotting satellites as well. But none of us had ever seen anything like this necklace of lights. We watched for a couple of minutes, then all of a sudden these lights just disappeared. I ran down the lane a little way in case they'd disappeared behind some trees. I expected to see them in the distance, but no, they'd simply vanished. Disappeared, in other words. What was it that we'd seen? Was it some kind of UFO or unidentified flying object? Very popular in the US, those. Or at least they used to be. Or what other strange phenomenon had we witnessed? Well, it didn't take too long to find out. And although all the ideas of something mysterious were soon dispelled, a bit disappointing, the explanation was both rational and fascinating. I messaged Andrew of Adept English, who instantly knew what these were, and it didn't take my niece long to find online what this bizarre spectacle, this necklace of lights really was. She even found it on a YouTube video. Apparently these strings of lights crossing the night sky are actually part of Elon Musk's Starlink project. I've included in the transcript a link to a YouTube video posted by a satellite watcher. And judging by the comments on this video, lots of other people have seen the same thing and wondered what it was. I even found a Starlink tracker app, which tells you when and where you might see this for yourself. Reading up about these satellites, they are launched in groups of 20 to 50 satellites, all in a string. And once launched, they take 6 to 8 weeks to rise to their eventual height of 350 miles above the Earth. They then travel at a speed of a mile in 4.6 seconds, and they circle the whole Earth in just 90 minutes. That's pretty amazing. So why did they suddenly disappear? Well, the lights that enable you to see the satellite train are actually not lights, but effectively mirrors or solar panels, if you like, reflecting the sun's rays. So although it was very dark and definitely nighttime when we saw the satellite train, it was actually lit up by the rays of the sun, which was way down below the horizon for us. And this is why it suddenly disappeared from sight. Any slight change of direction or the angle, that's angle, that you are viewing at as it travels along, just means that it disappears because you haven't got the sunlight reflecting to your particular location anymore. It leaves you rubbing your eyes and wondering if you really saw it at all, or you imagined it. Whatever you think of Elon Musk, this is an amazing spectacle, and clearly his Starlink project continues apace. What is the purpose of Elon Musk's Starlink project? Well, most of the developed world has good internet coverage. 96% of households in the UK have an internet connection, and that's 90% in the European Union and the USA. But much of the world doesn't have internet access. Elon Musk's vision, he wants to try and change that. His Starlink satellites will eventually ensure that the whole of Africa, Asia, and South America have good internet coverage. Currently, it costs £89 a month for Starlink, so that's beyond the reach of many people. But eventually the cost will come down, so that ordinary households all over the world will have good internet access. And setting up this network will ensure that schools, hospitals, and businesses who can afford the £89 a month will have good internet coverage before it's affordable by most people. Surely this is a good thing, especially in remote areas of the world. And the opinion that I promised you at the start of this podcast? Well, on returning from my holiday, I noticed in the news, following the riots in the UK, that's RIOTS, Elon Musk is being criticised, blamed. That means spoken about negatively, because X, formerly Twitter, promotes free speech. And this has meant that some far-right racist groups who are behind the riots in many UK cities and towns this month, well, they're able to spread their word on X. My opinion? I don't blame Elon Musk. He's just upholding the principle of free speech, which I believe is of utmost importance. It's really important to protect that. I think what is at fault here is the failure of education and widespread ignorance in the UK. This means that the ideas put about by the far right are actually believed by some people, quite a lot of people, and they're out on the street rioting because of complete misinformation. That's misinformation. And that means incorrect, entirely wrong information. But these people seem to lack critical capacity. They don't seem to be able to think and look at what's real and what's not real. They can't truth check things. So they believe whatever's written on X, formerly Twitter. I think that's the main problem. And perhaps also the strength of feeling which is behind the riots. Let me stress it's a minority of people, but it might be worth finding out what are they angry about underneath once you dispel the myths, the misinformation. A discussion for another day, perhaps. As ever, let us know what you think of this podcast and whether you've seen Elon Musk's Starlink satellite train in the night sky. I'd be interested to know where else in the world they'd been seen. It was the last thing I imagined seeing on my holiday in rural France. Enough for now. Have a lovely day. Speak to you again soon. Goodbye.